I identify myself as an Afro-Caribbean, Puerto Rican woman, a mother, a social worker, an activist in my own way. My son was deployed to Iraq, and I became an anti-war activist in New York City. I was very involved in protests and speeches and giving interviews and things like that. But that was some years ago. And so I say activist in my own way because just using my voice, my brain, when I see an injustice, I feel very comfortable speaking out against it. My mother.
Your mother?
Yeah, my mom. She's always been very vocal ever since, I mean, as a kid, we were like, oh my gosh, there she goes again, you know. But she always spoke what's on, and she still does, speaks what's on her mind. And if she thinks something is unfair or unjust, she will make a big stink about it. So I grew up seeing that, and I learned that from her. And I saw that she was also very involved. She was always very aware of what was going on in the community, and she always took up the cause. I do not feel like I'm represented, especially in New Jersey. I mean, I'm originally from New York, and so over there you feel like you have a little more representation. You see politicians that look like you and sound like you, and that actually come to your community and make an effort. And you can hold them accountable. And since moving to New Jersey, and I've lived in other states too, California, Florida, and where there's fewer Puerto Ricans, that's less representation. I recognize the importance of voting, and I do vote in some elections because it's my right and to express my voice, but I don't put much faith in politicians at the end of the day. I was born here. And as a child, I would visit my grandmother over there, and I have, nice memories of that. But I also have some negative experiences, unfortunately, when I went to Puerto Rico because of the way I look, and I'm not the atypical, Puerto Rican with the more European features. So there definitely is a divide there. There definitely is some racism that exists on the island, unfortunately. And so I never felt comfortable with that. So I actually haven't been back since I was a little girl. I don't feel connected to the island, though I do wish that they would get their independence. I do. But I feel that if they were to get their independence, I feel that the U.S. government should offer reparations and definitely invest time and money in setting up the island so that they can be more self-sufficient. Growing up, well, I think most of the authority figures in my life growing up were Puerto Rican women. The men that were there, they were the breadwinners, or they went out and worked, and they didn't really have a lot of hands-on with the kids. And so the women were the ones who corrected us. They taught us right from wrong. They taught us how to clean. They taught us how to cook, all the wifely stuff. Women, the Puerto Rican women I grew up with were all very strong women, but I also saw the suffering that they went through in their marriages with their husbands because of the whole machismo part of the culture. But they all eventually broke away and got their own independence and, ended up standing on their own 2 feet and discovering that they had their own strengths and their own abilities. My mom also is included in this description. When it comes to gender, I think that, women in general, but I think especially Latina women, we're either too outspoken, and then we're told you're so loud, you're so unladylike, right? Or we're very soft-spoken and we don't really, challenge and speak out because women aren't supposed to do that, especially Latina women. And what kind of man? You won't be able to get a husband. You have to be demure and you have to be accepting and you have to you know, you definitely have to know how to cook and you have to know how to clean because, you know, how will you get a husband and you have to cook for your husband and you have to serve your husband his dinner. And still to this day in 2015, like you still hear these things from the older generation telling the younger generation. I feel that relationships and marriage and family is too much of a focus when it comes to Latinas. And that, I mean, family's great, children are great, marriage, wonderful, but that should kind of complement what you already have going, what your goals and dreams are. It shouldn't be the only goals and dreams, in my opinion. And I feel that when it comes to Latina women, that's the message that's given to them, unfortunately, and that becomes their only focus and goal in life. And they eventually end up, you know, realizing, you know, that this wasn't maybe, and being a little disappointed and being a little disillusioned, you know, and by then they're in their 30s or 40s, you know. So I think there has to be a shift, you know, as parents. We have to kind of encourage our daughters. You can do more than be just a mom and a housewife. There's more that you can do.